Welcome to Iconic Leaders with your host, Dr. Tabatha Russell, the show that takes you on a journey with trailblazers and bold thinkers who've changed the rules for success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Iconic Pioneers and Leaders podcast. I have the pleasure, the distinct honor of having Pastor Dr. Anthony D. Shannon Sr. with me on today. He is a dynamic leader, a transformational coach, visionary apostle, and over 25 years of experience empowering others, known as the Peacemaker. That's right, the Peacemaker. Dr. Shannon is the founder of the Leaders Live Generously Academy and the visionary behind Prophetic Night Tuesdays, where he blends practical wisdom and prophetic insight to inspire thousands. His unique approach to leadership transforms setbacks into stepping stones, helping people achieve breakthroughs in business, faith, and personal growth. Dr. Shannon's message is clear. With resilience, generosity, and faith, you can create a life of purpose and abundance. Thank you so much for being here on today, Dr. Shannon. Welcome in.
Welcome. Well, I received the welcome and thank you for the opportunity to be here on your wonderful Iconic Pioneers podcast. And, shout out to Alabama and Fred and all the rest of them over there in South Carolina. Okay.
I love it. Thank you so much. Well, I could not wait to have this opportunity because I know that you're doing some amazing and wonderful things with empowering people around the world. And that is true. He is global, guys, and he is doing it big time. So tell me, Dr. Shannon, what does being an iconic leader mean to you personally?
Well, being an iconic leader for me, right? It means living so aligned with purpose that I believe people are changed just for proximity. Okay. It also means maybe consistency when no one is watching who you really, really are. It means being, having the courage to obey God, even when the outcome is unclear or others are going left when God knows he told you to go right. An iconic leader is a person of influence that outlives the applause. What are you going to do after the applause? The lights are out. No one's calling your name anymore. Will your light still be able to shine? As Matthew 5:16 say, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works. Come on, somebody. And then glorify God because of it, right? That means that God is spiritual. They're not going to see in the spirit, but they will see everything you do in the natural. That to me is an iconic leader.
Ooh, that is so good. Because I will say that in this society that we live in today, people are very observant. And what used to take us, months and years to accomplish, we're doing it in weeks and days because technology is our friend and it's allowing us to really get our message out there even quicker and faster than before. So tell us about a defining moment when you realized you weren't built to follow the crowd.
So many thoughts have come to my mind, but I remember the moment came when obedience costs me approval, right? I had to choose calling over comfort, and I saw clearly that following the crowd would silence my assignment, and that decision separated me. And it also clarified me. And I had a roommate when I was in college. And when I first got to college, I'm just talking about God, trying to win people to God, asking them, do they know him? Praying for them. Are you full of the Holy Spirit? And this roommate I had, he just wasn't budging, he used to be in the wintertime. he would want the window open with a fan. So me and him would battle. And I kept talking. So I decided after a year, I said, I'm moving out. I'm done with you. I'm out. You're hard headed. And I pledged, I was pledging Alpha. And we were having some challenges online. And so they were throwing a party. And so I'm at the party. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I never have like that. And so everybody kept asking me, drink, drink, drink. And I said, man, I don't drink. So thought came to me, just tell them to put in a like a wine glass or liquor glass, put some water, put a little lime twist, act like it's a drink, like vodka or something. So I would have it all night, just holding it and just sip a little water every now and again. And all of a sudden, my roommate comes in looking for me. And they said, hey, Shannon, your roommate is here. I said, my roommate? What is he doing? Looking for me. So, you at the party, everybody's, and I'm going over there to see what he want, and he's like, man, I've been looking for you, been looking everywhere. You've been telling me about God and telling me to get saved. And here I am looking for you. Now here you are drunk. And I said, no, man, I don't drink. Yeah, look at that thing in your hand. You can't tell me you're like the rest of us. And he runs out. When he runs out, I was about to chase him, but my guy, they grabbed my hand and said, Shannon, come on, man. Don't worry about him. I said, no, man, I was talking to him about God. Man, don't worry about him. So I decided, okay, I'm going to keep doing what everybody else is doing. And the next day at the football game, at halftime, there was the MTs, everybody was being called. And when I ran out to see what was going on, they said it was a guy on the balcony doing handstands and he slipped, fell, and he died. And when I went up to run up there, it was my roommate. And I looked and I knew it wasn't my fault, but I promise you it was, I felt like it was my fault. And all I kept thinking was, dang, if I wouldn't have been at the party with that drink in my hand, even though it wasn't a drink, I said, he probably would have listened to me. And from that day on, I made up my mind. It was a defining moment that I was not going to divide, separate who I was for anything. And that was the defining moment for me, that I knew I can't follow the crowd. And from that day on, I did everything that God told me to do. I was in boardrooms praying for people, presidents. They would give me the rule. Look, I didn't play around no more after that. That was my defining moment.
Wow. Wow. Can I just say, thank you so much for sharing that. I can definitely say that you exemplify being an iconic leader, because everything that I've observed over the past few years actually is that you stand in the league all by yourself, like, and you're okay with it, right? So I absolutely love you sharing that with us. And I know that a lot of times, every leader faces some sort of resistance, and that was definitely one of those challenges. But what's one obstacle that almost broke you from the business standpoint, and how did you overcome it as well?
Well, misunderstandings, right, almost broke me. People misunderstanding who I was. Being faithful and still misjudged, it begins to test you in your soul. And we got hired at Automatic Data Processing. My friend, he's a bishop now, but out in Arizona, and I go there every year. I've been going there ever since he started the ministry. And I remember when we were in industry, he was the first African American in the company to be sales. So, of course, I went and talked to Mike Yesko. I got in. I was the second. His mindset was, Shannon, we have to conform because we're the only blacks, African American blacks. And I said, no, brother, I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to be real. Listen, I can't play games here. They hired me. They know who I am. I'm going to do the job. It's going to be very professional. It's going to be well, but they're going to know that I'm African American. I just need them to know. No, you shouldn't do that. And so many times, because I wouldn't conform, they would misunderstand, who I was and who I am. But when I brought the money in, they said, well, he know how to bring the money in. He know how to do this. And so one day I got up and I presented my goals for the year. And they gave you, you get a, what do they call that? You got to meet your quota. So they gave me my quota. And next thing you know, I went above the quota, and I said, I'm going to be like 35% above my quota. I'm going to hit President's Club by this time, and I'm going to do this. And so Mike Yesko said, well, how can you present that to us when you haven't even really been in that territory? And I said, because God is going to help me, and God has given me a plan. And he said, God don't have nothing to do with this. What are you talking about, Shannon? I said, God has everything to do with this, Mike Yesko. He said, now here you go. He said, why can't you be like Chris? And I said, I'm not like Chris. I said, Chris is who he is. I'm who I am. I said, but God is, he said, that's very lofty. That's very this. He says, I'm so sick of you guys. I said, what do you mean, you guys? I said, Mike, talk to me here, man. I said, I am a training manager. I out here bringing business like the rest of them. So what do you mean, you guys? And so he said, you always thinking you can do this and that. I said, listen, everything I've done it. Please don't misjudge me. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I said, the work is going to get done. And so he watched me, no question about it. Every month he would watch the numbers and he would send me a note. If I miss it, yeah, you missed it. Where you got at now? Man, I never forget it. I said, Mike, please stop judging me, man. Every month, give me 3 months or something. I said, please back up. I said, let's look at it at the end of the year. But nope, every quarter he was writing me. So I said, okay, I'm gonna turn it up. I turned it up, and I went to number 2 in the nation, number 1 in the company. This is straight up. And Mike came on me so strong that my gym, they had him transferred. He went to Denver because I don't know if he was upset. I don't know what was going on, but they transferred Mike in the middle of the year. So Mike sends me a note. Don't think because I'm transferring, I'm going to be watching you. And so our regional vice president, when I hit the number 2 spot, he sent me a personal note. I wrote it out. I sent a copy to Mike. Then they sent out the numbers with all the pictures on it on the front page. It was a front page. Only the top get on that page. For years, I always wanted to be on there. And there's my picture. I said, look at God. And Mike sent me a copy. And Mike said, I see that you've already hit President's Club with 3 months left remaining. I stand corrected. Your God, I guess, is the one helping you. He said, I've always thought that if it's going to be, it's up to me. But Anthony, I need you to pray for me, man, because I think that I've been doing this so long that I've become cynical. And I prayed, I'll never forget it. I prayed for Mike that God would help Mike and turn Mike's heart around. And so I learned that clarity with God is stronger than validation from people. No weapon formed against you shall prosper.
Ooh, I love it. You said so many good things in there, where you were saying how, I believe just being the example is everything, and you have to stand that ground no matter what. And from that example, you did just that. How do you find that you balance building wealth, influence, and impact without sacrificing your authenticity? And I know that that's a really good example. But in today's society, we find that sometimes people come at us from the right and the left, especially being a pastor, being a kingdom citizen, and then being in the marketplace. So
Absolutely.
authenticity is everything. But how do you balance, being that wealthy guy, your impact, your influence, and still stay true to you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me say this, that I treat wealth as a tool, right? As a tool, not a trophy. When I really understood it, when, I was ignorant to it, there's no question about it, but working those corporate jobs. They offer you 401ks. They offered me stock options, right? Stock purchases. And I had to learn that, what it meant to buy, those things. And once I learned how to do it and the mindset of it, I said, okay, I treat wealth as a tool, not a trophy, and influence as stewardship, right? It's my ability to steward over the things that God put in my life or people that come into my life. Because not every person, let me put it this way, every person is valuable, but not every person is valuable to me. Okay. And so I understand that. And the people that are valuable to me, it is up to me to stewardship that relationship, because some relationships are given by God, and it is up to you to discern that. So I tell people, here's my rule. If the person is adding value to your life and you can't get rid of them in 48 hours, right, then you need to steward that relationship. In 48 hours, if you got rid of them, amen, and you won't miss them, nothing they do is helping, then okay, got it. But if there's some people in your life that God has sent, in 48 hours you can't do without them, you better steward that relationship, because that relationship comes from God. And so authenticity stays intact when values decide before opportunities arrive. So I decided in my life, I made a commitment. And I tell people all the time, you first got to make the commitment. Commitment is an act, not a word. And once I made the commitment to live by principles, promises, and precepts, it changed everything for me, because now I can deal with people. When God tell me to sow, I was sowing into a guy. God says sow into his church every month. So I sold into his church every month for about 7 months. He called me one day and he said, I just want to know, why are you sowing into me when I've been so hard to you?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, brother, your hardness against me got nothing to do with me obeying God. It's a principle. God told me to be good to you, and I'm being good to you. He said, I can't even believe it. I said, well, believe it. I said, because you ain't sent none of the money back. Okay. So, brother, understand it must be God that got me doing this. Okay. So I tell people that it starts with commitment. And when you have commitment, then authenticity stays intact when values are decided before opportunities arrive. I live by prayer. That's why I love money. Money me is cool. You understand? However, I don't chase money. And when people chase money, that's where I stop. And some people think, well, Shannon, you ain't aggressive enough, or you ain't hitting them enough. Brother, trust me. The seeds I sow is enough for God to multiply so much. It's I can't even describe it for you. And when he wants to get me something, he know how to get it to me. Believe that. And they don't understand that. You don't understand that, but it's a principle. You understand? I'm generous. And they go, why are you so generous? Because, brother, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over shall men. Either you believe it or you don't. I just happen to believe it.
Can I just say, I believe it with you, okay? I believe that we got some wealth that's looking for us to run us over, run us down, and take us over, right?
Yes,
I
indeed.
believe that it is going to happen, and it's as it always does all the time anyway. So that makes me super excited. And I think that there's a lot of misconceptions around wealth, right? And what people think about it. I have this saying where I said that the people in the kingdom need to have the wealth that make even the drug dealers jealous.
Absolutely.
Right? People don't want to follow after folks that have the po mouth, right? They always talking about, oh, I'm broke, but I have humility and I'm humble. Yeah, that's cute, that's nice and all, but God wants us to give away some houses and some cars, pay some bills, feed the hungry, and do some things that really makes an impact. So what's a myth about leadership or success that you believe needs to be dismantled like immediately?
Yeah, one of the myths is that louder means greater. Just because somebody's louder don't make them right. Just because they holler don't make them right. Right? And it doesn't mean greater, because true leadership is depth, not noise. Right? You go deeper before you go wider. Right? Whenever they're going to build a building, they got to build the foundation first before they lay anything else. And if it's going to be really tall or they're going to go high, they got to go real deep in the foundation. Many people do not build their foundations. I build the foundation. Because if you can go depth, right? Leadership is depth, not noise. And sustainability beats spotlight. I'd rather be here for the long haul than to be a shooting star. Okay. I love all of the artists who's been around for years. Okay. They've been able to transform themselves, reimagine themselves in every dimension, and they still here, right? We got Stevie Wonder. He's been here since a young child, still here today. Then you got in the church world, Shirley Caesar, older woman, right? She's like Church of God in Christ type, but she has been able to multiply and still be around and still be relevant today. Some of them folk, you don't even know where they at. They were shooting stars. Where they at? Where they name at? What they doing? Faithfulness outlasts hype. You understand? So when we come to debunk these things, these are some of the principles we live by and stand on.
I love it. I believe, and some of the studies that I've been doing here lately is that there's individuals that clearly stand out, miles above the rest.
Oh yeah.
And I believe that we're on that track as we do what we do with helping people
Mhm.
and giving them or allowing them to design or rethink their mindset, right? The things of how they view success as well as life and legacy.
Yeah.
So I know that your success, though, leaves clues. So, what daily habits or rituals keep you operating at an iconic level? I tell everybody you have to have a morning routine if
Mhm.
you're going to be successful. Like, you're only going to go so far without it. But when you start to build those habits, now you determine and command things to happen. So
Yeah.
tell us about what that looks like for you. What are some of your daily habits or rituals that keep you operating at that iconic level?
Well, I want to before I hit that, I want to say this: that wealth starts in the mind and not in the wallet, right? Wealth
Mhm.
starts in the mind, not in the wallet. So you got to get your mind together and work on your mind, and I think that starts with commitment. So I would say, if someone picture this, you're standing in the middle of a barren wasteland, a place so dry, it's so hostile, it dares you to try. But beneath the cracked earth lies a treasure so massive it could change your bloodline forever. But here's the kicker: you've got to dig for it. There's no signs, there's no guarantees, just your grit against the odds. And most folks won't even start. They'll throw in the towel and say, forget it. But the sand whispers, lies to you. You know what? Don't even try. It's too hard. It's not for you. You'll fail. But there's something and someone who always says, you know what? Let me at least try. And so you see, wealth doesn't respect weakness. It doesn't bow to wishful thinking, right? Wealth is a battle. And only those who are bold enough to fight each and every day will taste it. You can't pray for it. You can't talk it. You can't complain for it, right? Your way to it. You've got to show up, put in the work, crush it every day, and crush every excuse that tries to stop you. And so, what I've learned to do every day is prayer, but I listen to over 2 hours of the Word of God every day. No question about it, right? When I'm in crisis, I bump it up to 4. Okay. That's every day. And then I listen to um, inspirational talks every day. So I spend about 4 hours a day early, just making sure that foundation is laid. All right. No question about it. Because if I don't keep myself built and I don't protect my inner circle, then I'll find myself empty. So I always speak the vision out loud. I've got a manual, I got the vision board. I look at it, I speak on it. Let's see how we are. Lord, is there anything else I need to do? What do you want me to do today? Who do you want me to bless today? Who do you want me to talk to today? Let's get that down along with my to-do list. I put everything write it down so that I don't forget. Okay.
I love it. I love it. I will say that's how you get to the next level is building up that discipline, right? As well as putting God first. The word tells us to seek ye first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto us. And people really take that lightly, like as if, I hear it, but what does that look like to do it? So I know that just having that discipline to get up and spend the time with the Lord, I tell everybody, if you don't read something, listen to something. We have no excuse why we don't have that relationship or we're not going to the next level. So I know that legacy is more than wealth. So, what legacy are you intentionally creating for the generations to come? Because I know you have a plan. So, tell us about what you're working on over there.
Well, we're building leaders who build leaders. All right. We're called to raise up leaders. Even when the Lord called us, he said that you're going to win souls, make disciples, and then develop future leaders. And that was the commandment he gave me some years ago. And we started training leaders and working with leaders in all of the different organizations. Many of them are bishops, archbishops. Some of them run companies, entrepreneurs, as presidents, CEOs. Many have come back to give me awards, thanking me for this or that. I didn't know I was always on the cutting edge. I just thought I was just being normal, but it wasn't. So now we are building these leaders with Leaders Live Generously Academy. We also have the Mod Squad, Men of Destiny, teaching young men. We take a lot of young men every quarter, about 30 of them at a time, to work with them one-on-one, teach them, train them, help them to develop their courage, chivalry. And that's what's weird is that the ladies of today don't like chivalry because I think of the people they're listening to, Nicki Minaj and some of the others. They consider themselves as B's and H's. And so, but I teach these men how to open the door, right? How to look out and still. But the older ladies, they love it. They really love it. They say, can we use your men? And many people be calling for our men of destiny. Hey, can we use them? Can they help? And I take them with the sheriff department as well to do it. And then, of course, our family legacy that we've created. We've got a Shannon creed. We've got the Shannon vision, the Shannon mission, and then prophetic insights that God has given me for each one of my children and what they will do and how they will be moving into it. And many of them, they're all moving into it as we speak, because the legacy part for me is huge. A lineage that knows God's and executes vision with integrity will always have the inheritance to give and to be a blessing on the earth. So we're building these leaders who build leaders and faith-filled thinkers for the next generation. And of course, all of them are generous stewards. I mean, we got young people straight up 18, 19 sowing 5, 10 grand. When we got older people in these other churches, they can't even give $1, $2. You understand? But we have trained these young folk how to be generous stewards. And it's amazing how that principle really, really worked. I mean, you know what I mean? I was with Shay Brown. He said, man, you really helping me be generous. I said, yeah, you got plenty of money, brother. God's been good to you, my brother. So you got to be able to give back when he tell you to, or just practice it. It's a practice, really. It's a practice.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely a practice. I know that the word tells us to give and it comes back to us, pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men give into our bosom, right? So I also know that if you have a closed fist all the time, nothing can go in because nothing's coming out, right? So therefore, how do you expect the principle to work, right? And you trying to hold on to it for a dear life, right? So I would say that I've seen it to really show up even in my children's lives, right? Because we believe in a lot of the same theories when it comes to building wealth and creating legacy in generational wealth, is that there's some things that you have to do. Nothing works but work, right?
Oh,
So I know that us putting in the work is going to pay off. And so I've seen where seeds that I've sown have sprung up in my children's lives.
yes,
Right.
yes,
And God has really blessed them, like our sons, they're in the military
mhm,
and their careers is 10 years ahead of schedule. Like they're doing things at their ages now
mm.
that folks that I know that have retired have not reached those levels.
Wow,
And
wow,
so I am most thankful at how being generous as well as leading a life that builds leaders is
yeah,
everything. And
yeah,
that is not an overnight process, right?
no,
That comes with
no,
years of development. So
mm,
I love talking about this. So when we talk about leadership,
mhm.
luxury, of course, and legacy, here on the show, but how do you personally define luxury as a leader? Because, I know people see you and they like, that brother got it all the way together, right? So
Yeah,
how do you define that? Because people can see the outside, but how do
mhm.
you take that a step further in your life?
First of all, luxury is peace, right? Nothing missing, nothing broken. Peace is also prosperity. So when you have nothing missing, nothing broken, then you can literally walk in luxury. Luxury is that next level of excellence, and it is where you pay attention to the very details of things, right? At your level. I always tell people at your level because there's always another level, right? I found that out when I go hang out with Archbishop. I see the level he on. I go out there to Bishop Jefferson. Oh, he on a whole nother level. Bishop Ivy Hill, you're like, okay, it's different levels to this. Okay, this is some luxury. All right, I mean straight up luxury. So luxury is time alignment. Luxury is freedom to say no with a strong no. Okay, and not feel guilty or bad. Luxury is provision without anxiety. All right, and luxury is living in the overflow. How do you get that? It's called gratitude. Gratitude turns what we have into enough, right? When a person gets to luxury, they got plenty. Trust me when I tell you. So enough and more, whatever level that is, it turns denial into acceptance, turns chaos into order and confusion into clarity. It makes sense on our past, right? Brings peace for today and creates a vision for tomorrow. Luxury. This is the blessing of the Lord makes you rich and add no sorrow to it. And
Ooh,
that's
ooh, ooh. I
I
love it.
and I told him, listen, brother, you ain't disturbing my peace. All right. We've given you everything you need. If you make those choices, that's on you. But
That's
you will
it.
not make that come on me. I promise you that.
I love it because people really do think that luxury is materialistic. I like to practice gratitude. I say if you practice gratitude, you'll never have a bad day. That don't mean that things won't happen,
That's
but
right.
you'll see it differently, right?
Mhm,
And I know that when you put good in, good automatically comes out. It has
mhm,
to
mhm.
because it's just the law of sowing and reaping, right?
That's
And
right.
I also tell people that no is a complete sentence, and that's
Mhm.
it. You don't necessarily have to go above and beyond that. Yeah, give a man an answer. Yeah, give an explanation. I know all of that, but no is enough,
It's a
right?
no. Yes, indeed. I've had to learn that with a lot of people, okay? Because when you're very generous or you're giving and people know that, even churches and church folk, they want you to keep coming. They want you to come raise their offering, come do this, come do that, whatever, whatever. And you got to say no.
Mhm.
You got to be able to say no. I don't really sense that today. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? And people get offended, they get upset, but it's not the same.
And there are sometimes some priorities that you have to set when you walk in a place of luxury because people feel like because you have it that they
That's
can
right.
get it. And
That's
I
right.
know that we, for example, we as a family went through a season where we had a lot of things going on, a lot of people
Mhm.
transitioning, our sons going to new duty stations,
Mm.
different things like that. And sometimes that's where we pull together as a family to provide the adequate support. That
Yeah.
means that you can't be at every cat and dog fight. You may not have the opportunity to do some of the things that you like doing. However, the big payoff is even greater at the end of the day. So, what is or what's the boldest risk you've ever taken in your career, your business, and how did it reshape your trajectory? Because, sometimes in this business called entrepreneurship, right, there's some ebbs and flows. So, how did you navigate potentially or take a bold risk in your career?
I was at a company called Staff Plus, and Staff Plus dealt with like HR, staffing, helping with benefits to companies, and we were selling that. And I was the vice president of that company, and they were offering me another position with more money, which I said, "Cool, you know what I'm saying? Let's do this." But at the same time, I remember coming back from the Bahamas with Dr. Miles Monroe, and the Lord said, I want you to um, do start that church. I didn't want to start that church. I was like, Lord, not right now. Let me do both. And so I was trying to do both. I really was, like everybody else. Everybody else was doing both. And the Lord said, I told you to let it go because I want you to learn how to walk by faith. I want to teach you faith, and then I want you to master faith so you can teach it to others. Well, I didn't know what that meant. So I remember telling them that I was leaving in 2 weeks. And so they were trying everything in their power to keep me on after the 2 weeks. And so I kind of negotiated with them, and I was kind of working with them even after the fact, after the 2 weeks, coming in a couple of days a week and that sort of thing. And I'll never forget, the Lord sent a man from the Bahamas and said to me through a prophetic word, God said, I told you to leave that place. And you right now are not in obedience. Even if you stay and keep doing there, it's not going to work good for you. So I had to leave the security, leave the job, leave the money. I was making over $250,000. They just bumped me up to 275,000. My expense account every month was 12,000. Come on, I was trying to all kind of ways to spend that money. Trust me. I was taking people everywhere. Believe me when I tell you, amen. But God told me to go to this ministry and to believe Him for the building, amen, that we're in now, to remodel it and fix it up. It was in shambles. That place was a mess. And I said, Lord, I can't believe you would tell me to leave that. Even pastors would say, "You a fool, Shannon. What's wrong with you? How would you that pastor leaving ministry to go get jobs like I had?" Like, ah, you know. And but God, He blessed me. He overcame so much in us to open us up to walk by faith. It reshaped everything in my life, and fear gave way to faith. In
Mm,
the building, we had a heating bill of $16,000 when I
mm.
first got in there. I didn't know how to deal with no $16,000 bill. We didn't have that kind of money coming in, and I said, Lord, I don't. I guess I got to shut it down and go get me a job. I'll never forget this. And I said, and the lady called on the phone, and she said, Pastor, we calling to talk to you about something. And I said, no, 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 I don't have no heat. This is what I said. My bill. And she said, well, you ever heard of propane? I said, no. She said, let me
Mm.
talk to you about propane. I said, no, I don't want to hear it. I'll never forget this. I said, I'll never want to hear this. And she said to me, did you say you was a pastor? I said, yes. She said, how you talking fear and you're the pastor? She said,
Mm.
you told me you left a job. She said, hold on, let me stop here and minister to you. She said, let me
Mm.
tell you who you are. You're supposed to be a man of faith. Believe in God for anything. God is able to do blah, 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 blah. She said, now go on and do what I tell you to do. And I did it. We got the propane, and I was back in business, and the rest is history. Obedience, unlocked doors, and strategy could never.
I love it. I'm so tickled because I was I had the opportunity to preside at church recently, and I was telling them that I could hear the Lord saying that we're in a season of uncommon faith
Come
and
on.
uncommon favor for the people of God. And I said, that means that some things are going to happen that other people are not going to be able to figure out, first of all, how it happened or why it happened. And I'm like, because, God don't play about us. It's
Mm-mm.
going to happen and
Wow.
it's going to bless us real good. So I believe that God said that he will lead and guide us into all truth. So
Mhm.
therefore, all we got to do is continually listen for that still small voice and follow the instructions, right? That
Mhm.
obedience that you
Absolutely.
talked about is
Yeah,
everything.
it's
So
everything.
I just know that we still got some things that's going to happen in our favor for sure. And I believe that wholeheartedly,
Yes.
110% that it's going to come to pass. So for those listening who feel called to lead but question their power, what's your message to them? Because I know you got a word for them.
Well, it's very clear. Like I had, and that lady had to challenge me. Your doubt does not cancel your destiny, right? And your setback is not your future. It is only a setback, right? But your setback is really for you to take a step back so you can get ready for a supernatural comeback. Your calling is confirmed by obedience, not confidence. And you step forward anyway because you get more on your way than you do when you start. God always supplies what he summons. But God have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And he really is Jehovah Jireh. I mean, he really is the God who will provide, and he will show up at 11:59. I promise you, and deliver you from whatever you need delivered from. That's straight up. That's
Oh, I believe it. I believe it wholeheartedly that God is an on time God. Can I just say that this was such an amazing interview on today? Thank you so much for being here with me, for sharing all of your wisdom. Can I just say that Pastor Shannon, that's the real deal right there. He is doing some amazing things over there. Can you share with everybody how they can connect with you, sir?
absolutely. On Facebook, Anthony D. Shannon. On LinkedIn, Anthony D. Shannon. On Instagram, Anthony D. Shannon. It's all Anthony D. Shannon. You can go to the website, check out what our church is doing at the Victory Church, int.org. Please connect with us on our summits. Leaders Live Generously, summit.com, or Anthony D. Shannon Consulting Group.com, which is ADSCG1.com.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. We'll have to have you back another time so that you can share some more of your insights as well as all the great things that you have going on over there at the Victory Church International. I do believe that you always have some great things going on. So thank you so much for being here with me once again. And I look forward to having you back on the show at another time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Iconic Leaders. We'll be back with more pioneers who are defying the rules and building blueprints for generations to come. Until next time, keep leading, keep building, and keep